Welcome to Self-Help Book Club. We read self-help books and see if they help. The Four Agreements, A Practical Guide to Personal Freedom, is a self-help book by the author Don Miguel Ruiz, who is essentially transcribing Toltec wisdom that was passed down to him. Who are the Toltec? I'll tell you in his words. Ruiz says that thousands of years ago, the Toltec were known throughout southern Mexico as women and men of knowledge. Anthropologists have spoken of the Toltec as a nation or race, but in fact the Toltec were scientists and artists who formed a society to explore and conserve the spiritual knowledge and practices of the ancient ones. What is that knowledge for the purposes of this book? Ruiz breaks it down in a quick read with four relatively simple to understand principles that he calls agreements. He says that throughout our lives we are taught and teach ourselves all kinds of agreements about who we are. Our challenge is to unlearn the agreements that get in our way and instead to focus on these four essential agreements that take us out of the dream of hell, the illusion of the lies we tell ourselves, and instead embrace the heaven of truth, love, happiness, and enlightenment. Sounds pretty good. So, what are the four agreements? Number 1, be impeccable with your word. Say only exactly what you mean and use the power of your word only in the direction of light and love. That's hard to follow as a comedian, as stand-ups are pretty intentionally usually not saying what we mean most of the time. Misdirection, sarcasm, irony, a lot of passive aggression in that art form. Ruiz says negative words can cast a kind of spell on people to believe hurtful lies. There are a lot of comedians out there using their writing to spread hurtful lies for sure, racist lies, misogynist lies, transphobic lies. Ruiz says these types of spells are difficult to break. On page 37, he says the only thing that can break a spell is to make a new agreement based on truth. The truth is the most important part of being impeccable with your word. On one side of the sword are lies, and on the other side of the sword is the truth, which has the power to break the spell. So the truth will set you free. Great. What's next? Number 2. Don't take anything personally. Don't take anything personally. This means nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own illusions. When you're immune to the words and actions of others, you will no longer be the victim of needless suffering, yada yada. This is the one I struggle with, obviously. Hurt people hurt people. They don't have to, and why do they so much? Ouch, it hurts, you know. Someone burns you with a stake, you can forgive them all you want, but it's not going to feel like heaven up there. But Ruiz is saying there's a way to transcend being affected by the actions of others, at least internally. He says someone can intentionally send emotional poison, but if you don't take it personally, you will not eat it. When you don't take the emotional poison, it becomes worse in the sender, but not in you. I'm rubber, you're glue. Anything you say bounces off me, it sticks on you, that sort of thing. I've certainly felt that when I'm angry at others. I'm the one who has to live with that. Getting all worked up, I feel that, you know. And not taking anything personally, there's a path to releasing that anger. Which leads us up to number 3. Don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and express what you really want. Goes along with number 1, but also helps a lot with number 2. Good way to not take anything personally is by asking people what they really mean. Illuminate the misunderstanding and the projections. Ruiz says, have the courage to ask questions until you are as clear as you can be, and even then, do not assume you know all there is. When you assume, you make an ass out of me and you and all that. And then there's number 4, maybe the easiest one to swallow for me. Always do your best. Just do your best, David Brothers. Ruiz says, yeah. You're gonna take some stuff personally, Kelly. You're gonna say the wrong thing. You're gonna put your foot in your mouth. You're gonna assume some shit. You're human. When you do that, just wake up again the next day and do your best again. Your best is not always 100%. That's okay. Ruiz says, in doing your best, you are going to live your life intensely. You are going to be productive. You're going to be good to yourself because you're going to be giving yourself to your family, your community, to everything. But it is the action that's going to make you feel intensely happy. Do your best, and no matter what you achieve from that, you can live, love, and be happy. Live, laugh, love. Doesn't get much better than that. And I hope it's true. I'm going to do my best to follow these 4 agreements. And I definitely had to accept that my best was not at 100%, especially in this episode, because once again, as I interviewed my guest today, the camera went off like 5 times. But Atheer was really patient with it all. Atheer Yacoub, who you may have seen on Fuse TV. She's got a great podcast called Toxic Dump. But here we are discussing the 4 agreements.
When a book keeps coming up and conversation, and then like a friend told me about it, and then my therapist brought it up, and it just seemed like an appropriate time. I just kept hearing about it. And then I was like, you know what? I feel like it's a sign now that I read this book. And so I finished it a couple months ago. And honestly, I will like drag my feet with like reading. Like it'll take me a while to read a book. I read this in a week, which is fast for me because it was consistent. Like it takes time. And I also will read like multiple books, most of them self-help book at the same time. And I was like, no, I just gotta finish this so I could at least talk to my therapist about it and understand why this was like coming up. I mean, it wasn't anything like crazy that I had like read where it was like, oh, is this the reason of all my trauma? Am I going to be fixed after this? Which is also not a good way to go into any book. But I would say it came into my awareness a year ago, and then I finished it 2 months ago.
Wow. So how did it feel once you finished reading it?
First of all, just finishing a book felt so good.
Yeah.
And so now I'm really trying to only read one book at a time. But it taught me that just in of itself was an accomplishment finishing it, but it also was like a lighter, easy read. And I feel like it was not too much to digest. So it felt like something I could really implement right away.
That's great. Yeah. And congratulations on reading a book. I know that feeling. Like,
yes,
there's been times when it feels like it's been years since I've been able to have the bandwidth to get through a book. And then to get through one feels like a huge step. And sometimes it is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was great.
And you said you felt like you were able to implement it right away. What did that mean for you?
I think it reinforced probably things that I had been told or thought about, when you like have to hear something in many different ways and for it to like sink in. So I don't think that this stuff, some of it was like for sure new, but a lot of it was kind of reinforcing a lot of the things that I had already like learned about, because I read an unhealthy amount of self-help books. And if there is a self-help book to help me stop reading so many self-help books, please let me know. Do write in. I will read it. One of the things I think living in this like over, New York, it's a grind, it's a hustle, never feeling like I'm doing enough, which I'm also rating as an ADHD thing, where you just don't ever feel like you do enough. It's also overachieving type A kind of. And when one of the things that really resonated was, which of the agreements? It was like, do your best, but sometimes like your best is just like 30% that day. And that's like,
yeah.
And that's fine. Your best doesn't have to look the same way every day. I've been trying to really implement that. I'm like, okay, I did 10%. Well, it was 100% what I had today or whatever. That's all. It's fine. It's fine. So I've been giving myself permission, which is like every self-help thing at the end of the day is just to give yourself grace and permission to just an acceptance. That's really is the key to be productive, or is the key to be happy? I've been productive and deeply unhappy, but like productive by whose standards? And I have to keep reminding myself that rest is productive. A happy life is productive. So it's just redefining what our ideas of productive, are. And, living in New York or in the US, it's like a very different idea, right? Of the grind. Like whenever I travel or go to like Latin America or like I'm in Caribbean, I'm just like, oh my God, this is so different. People are just chilling and like living life. They're not like, how many hours can I clock in of this thing? And they're just living.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, I totally agree. Like the idea of giving yourself permission keeps coming up in all these books, and kind of surrendering to what you can't control too, like to release what could be putting all that pressure on you. And that's, I know some parts of the books that I felt some resistance from myself was when he's saying, like, don't take anything personally.
Yeah,
that's
a new one.
Personally.
Yeah, I'm like, well, fuck you. No, that's a great point. I didn't really know initially what that like could look like or mean, but now I understand it. I mean, I think it's like there's certain things that are like easy to let go of and not take personally, but then there are things where like even when it is a personal attack, some of it is like someone might say something, but it's more about their insecurity and they're not meaning to insult you, and you might take things personally. But all of that, regardless if they're meaning it that way towards you or not, like that's their shit, like to own and not to let it affect us.
Right. And it's like it's a challenging task for yourself to not let something affect you, because in a way it's like, it will hurt if someone says something hurtful or does something hurtful. But does that mean it hurting? Does that mean that you're taking it personal? It's sort of like, when you're affected by things.
I think so.
Dang it.
Because I think so. I had to think about this for myself. This is how I think about it. Because if you don't have an insecurity about something and someone says something, it's like it would be incongruent with your core belief. And it wouldn't, like if someone was like, hey, the sky is red, obviously it's not an insult, but you'd be like, no, it's not, whatever. Like you wouldn't question it and be like, oh my God, is it? Like, like, or someone's like, the earth is flat. Which, please don't be one of those people. But you're like, no. But I get when it's something actually like an attack on you and you're something actually personal, like it becomes harder to distance yourself and take it as just like, but I'm not like, also who cares? Like who cares what this person thinks? Because I already think highly of myself. So I do think it's tied to our own insecurities, and in a way that hurt is a good way to shed light on the parts of ourselves that still need to be healed.
Self-help book club. I'm like trying to play the little agreements in my head. Don't make assumptions. I'm like, well, I'm not making an assumption. I just know.
I know they're not. So.
I know what I know. And then it's like, don't take it personally. And I'm like, okay, it's not personal. It's business. Like,
it's pleasure.
I'm like, okay, this person I know has been harmful. And if I'm not taking it personally, if I assume nothing, then what do I need to do here? It's not that I have to talk to them like everything's like they're not.
You don't owe them anything, hurt. Right?
But it's like to set the boundary in a way where I'm releasing that, it affecting me. Like I can just leave and say, like, you know what, it's not safe to talk to this person. But why they are like the way they are is not because of me. It's not because of my friends that they've hurt. It's like releasing that is like, okay, whatever trauma got them to where they are.
Yes.
They're on their journey.
Right.
And like letting that be while still being like, I'm going to draw a line here. And that's where I guess the first He says the first one is the most important. You be impeccable with your word.
That's the toughest one for me.
And that's like, okay, what do you do with your word in all these situations?
Meaning like also like don't break promises to yourself. The other part of being impeccable, right? So if you say like, I'm going to do this or I'm not going to, like, don't say
like,
that willy-nilly and then not do the thing, which I famously will do.
And that could be the moment to be, which can be hard in like our world of comedy, to be sincere and say, I need to draw a line here. And
it's hard.
I don't stand for this, but also I love you. I don't know.
I mean, I won't go that far.
Forgive you. I don't know.
And they're like, who are you? And you're like,
I'm your business acquaintance that you don't like. I love you and I forgive you.
I mean, it's kind of like that. It's like having empathy for the human that they are and knowing that they are. This is an image that I got during one of my like ketamine therapy trips. I was like about kind of this very thing of how people, it's kind of like that cliche, like hurt people. But I got this image of somebody getting hurt and then almost like a cactus, they grow like a spike. And when they hurt you, it's because of that initial trauma. They grew that spike as like a trauma. And then when they prick you with it, they're also simultaneously pricking themselves and hurting themselves back. And it made me like somehow that gave me more empathy for the person who is doing the hurt, because rather than let their hurt define me and how I'm affected and look at it as like a like something missing in myself, I started seeing it as just a highlighting of their hurt and their trauma. And I think that's kind of what he's saying about like not taking things personally, because it's really has everything to do with them and nothing to do with us.
Right. And when you're combining all of, it's like if you focus on any one of the agreements, it can feel like you're missing a part. But if you've got all four at once, then you can be like, oh yeah, that other one covers this one. Yeah. But if you had to like pick your least favorite, if you had to fuck, marry, kill the agreements, what's your easiest one to live with forever? Which one?
Well, there's four. It's fuck, marry, kill, or
one is platonic. I don't know.
Okay, let's see. So we have be impeccable with your word. That was one. I know.
Here,
the order. Don't take things personally is 4. Yeah. But 2 is
so be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best.
Okay. So the hardest one, I think the one that's most helpful is don't make assumptions. I will fuck that, because with my romantic partner, it's like constant assumptions. And I realize I'll have fights in my head and then be like, okay, this is what I had to fight with you in my head because I'm thinking this. And now I'm like, hey, I try to clarify. I'm like, what did you mean by that? Mm-hmm. And they're like, no, I didn't mean that at all. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. I had a whole fight about this assumption. What is like, am I misinterpreting always be impeccable with your word? Is it not just like hold yourself accountable to your word of like be?
So it's, the summary of it, in the leaflet of the book is speak with integrity, say only what you mean. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. And yeah, I think
that's the hardest for me.
Interesting. Yeah. Why do you feel like that's the hardest?
I'm impulsive and I'm an impulsive speaker. I'm not even impulsive in action. I'm an impulsive with my words. And that's why I'm trying to meditate to create space between my thoughts and actions. Now I wouldn't say it to like a stranger, or even the more comfortable I am. If it's my family or my partner or somebody, it's like, bleh, I'll say something and be like, oh no, why did I say that? I'm not being intentional with my word. And it's so hard. And sometimes I'll like take a second and I'm trying to be intentional with my word. And then I'll still find out that I said the wrong thing to like make them upset. And I'm like, damn it. That was my like tamed like version of what I wanted to say.
You feel like that was like the draft that you worked on and
Yeah.
like gave like time.
Yeah.
And I've literally been there so many times where like I've been in these times where I felt like it's like me against the world, and I'm like really like righteously angry at people in my life.
Yeah.
And
it's blinding when you're righteous, when you too, because you're like, I've earned the right to say this.
But the part that what he says about that's interesting. It's like, what is it doing for you? And it's like, that's the part that, like, I literally like a week ago, I almost sent a letter to a high school boyfriend, somebody like I literally haven't talked to in like 15 years.
Is this what the podcast's for? We're sending,
and now I'm gonna read it, and I hope he sees it
because I emailed it to him.
But that's like, I was like, this will give me peace.
But
like,
they say to write it and not send it. That's why I was wondering if you actually sent those letters in the past.
Well, it was interesting. Who ended up stopping me from sending it was ChatGPT, because
wow, they were like, we've seen some horrendous stuff.
Well, no. ChatGPT, my like anal side of me like wanted there to be no typos.
Oh, okay.
So I literally sent the letter to ChatGPT.
That would be embarrassing.
I literally sent the letter to ChatGPT. Like, I'm thinking of sending this letter to this person in my life, you know, that like was abusive, and I need to say something, and that's gonna help me have peace. But I don't remember exactly what I said to ChatGPT to give context of what the letter was, but I was like, I just wanted a spell check and grammar and like what ChatGPT helps with. Like ChatGPT helps with cover letters, you know, stuff like that. This was another one of those things, but it was really heavy content. And then ChatGPT literally answered and was like, the letter is great content, beautiful writing, really meaningful. Do you feel like you really need to send it to him? Or like, would it be more helpful to rewrite it, but to yourself when you were 18 years old? And I was like, what the fuck, ChatGPT? Wow. ChatGPT has read every self-help book, you know.
That's true.
She knows.
Yeah.
So I was like, dang, ChatGPT.
Wow.
So I did the rewrite. And to myself, and of course, you know, I burst into tears. ChatGPT was right. Did
you put it back into ChatGPT? Make sure there was no typos.
I almost did. Yourself. I literally almost like sent back the update, and then I was like, "What am I doing? Like, I want now. It's just this isn't for a typo. Now I just want this robot to be proud of me."
Right.
Yes, you did great.
Good
and
job.
I love the update.
And here's a hug.
Literally, Joffrey had to stop me. He's like, Kelly, you need to stop talking to this robot. You're talking to it. Because I told Joffrey about this, and I said she about ChatGPT.
Right.
And he was like, Kelly, you just said she.
Right. You're like, what? ChatGPT is non-binary.
But she felt like a woman in this moment.
I know. I mean, yeah, the emotional intelligence, you would think. Like, that makes more sense.
But it's like the thing of being impeccable with your word. It's like, he talks a lot about the spells we put on people with our words and like the spells we put on ourselves. And he gives this example of someone who one day is having a really hard day, and her daughter's like doing all this music, or I forget what the daughter's doing, but she's just like, the daughter's singing. And she's just like, you have a terrible singing voice. Just stop singing. And then the daughter like carries that.
Oh, I remember that.
Like stops singing forever and thinks she's annoying and becomes quiet. And later, he's actually saying, don't blame the mom. She said she didn't know the power of her word, and therefore she isn't to blame. She did what her own mother, father, and others had done to her in many ways, misusing the word and casting the spell. And he basically says the way to break the spell is to not believe the words, not take it personally, as he says. And then also to give yourself and others the impeccable like power of the word of like that woman now can tell herself every day, you are beautiful, I love you. In the mirror, you have a beautiful singing voice, whatever she needs to hear. And then that breaks the spell. So it's sort of like this idea that the truth sets you free by like making a new agreement. So whatever agreement was put on you, if someone put on you like that you're worthless, that you're unlovable, then when you start telling yourself the opposite every day, then you might carry yourself in a way where you're less likely to pass along that.
Well, yeah, you got to build and it's so hard when you're a child, and it's so much more because you're like, you're a sponge and you're vulnerable and you're shaping your ideas and thoughts by, of course, like what's being told to you. And if it's your own parent, how do you you haven't formulated your sense of self independently.
Right.
And
yeah, it's challenging to not
so
believe the projection, like it seems like that's basically what he's talking about, is like people projecting their own pain onto others. And then in turn, those people who get projected on, one of two things it seems like, which is one, you project on your own self and develop a victim mentality. I think I've done that sometimes of like, just feeling like, oh, I'm always in this situation. People are always hurting me.
Instead of being like, well, what can we do? Yeah.
And then
what's our personal responsibility in this?
Right. And then the other way, or to release like that belief that I deserve that, like, and to say, which it's not like, it doesn't make it my fault all these times people hurt me, but like, it's like, to let it not be true, like to release the illusion.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the other version of people projecting where they're like projecting onto others what was projected onto them. Like, oh, someone always told me I was worthless. Now I'm going to tell them they're worthless.
It's a cycle of abuse, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
And he's saying in kind of this very simple like way that we can break these spells, he calls them, with new words, new beliefs, new agreements.
Yeah. I don't know if this is, I read this or like, I remember I worked in like corporate and they were telling us like for every negative criticism, you need 7 compliments to counteract it.
Wow.
So that kind of it's not even a 1-to-1 where if like, because it's so much more impactful when it's negative. And another book I was reading, The Happiness Trap, I think it says 80% of our thoughts are negative.
Wow.
So it's like, and that just comes naturally. So you'd have to like actively like affirm and to make up for it. It's like constant affirmation, but that comes less naturally to us than the negative.
Self-help book club.
I want to start a podcast.
And we're back.
About podcasters struggling to podcast because I have so many video clips like this. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, literally, now that we're back and I've surrendered to the impeccable imperfection of the podcast, I would like to introduce our next segment, which is called Self-Help Hotline.
Ooh.
Where people can write in questions and we'll give advice on the pod. And you can write in questions on the Patreon if you want to do that. And if you subscribe to the Patreon, maybe I'll hire a tech person so you can see the whole episode. But for now, today's advice, I texted it to you before my phone died.
Yeah. Also technology, it sucks sometimes.
So we have... yeah.
Okay.
Today's question comes in from
Should
Jen.
I read it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Jen writes, this is my self-help.
That's good.
Why do I sound like I'm on a sex hotline? Okay. I have a crush on someone who goes to the same art studio as me. I think he likes me because he keeps looking at me, but he's always far away. So it feels like there's no way to talk to him. I don't know what to do. Also, he's really hot. Oh, I'm so bad at approaching people, but
Yeah.
I have some follow up. Like, does this person, I guess it's hard to know, like, does this
Yeah.
person seem shy? Can you like send like a vibe? Like, can you get there early maybe? And like,
Yeah. It sounds like, the person is whatever kind of studio it is. I'm picturing pottery.
and let's say their
But
station's really far away.
yeah,
But
maybe
you're making eye
let's say
contact.
one of them is painting, one of them is doing pots, and it's like there's they're in a part of the room where like they're never in the same part. Like something that's bringing them, they're literally
Yeah.
apart. So like it takes sort of that step of being like, I'm walking over there. And that is a big vulnerable thing to do.
Oh, what if you like try to look? This is me. I'm like looking for excuse. Recording stopped. Oh Lord, do you want to put your other camera?
I will get a clip some other way. And so we were talking about
So Jen's hottery.
yes, there's
You
a
like
hot
that?
there's a hot guy and he's physically far away.
I would say try to create the conditions that invite them to ask you out. Maybe ask you for coffee after class. Like a class is or studio or whatever is like a great environment because you already have a shared interest. You
Right.
could definitely strike up a conversation based off that. It's not weird. You just treat them as like just another like friend or person that you would want to get to know. And yeah, if their art is something that you can like comment on or be like, hey, I'm just interested, like, what are you making or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
that's great advice. It's like, because I think your advice is better than what I had in mind. Because I was thinking, like, yeah, just go over there and be like, hey,
I think you're hot.
you're hot. But to create a space for them to be able to, return the action. If you're like going over there and saying hello, maybe y'all end up having a conversation, a little small talk. Then they have an opportunity to the next day or do something. Yeah, I think that's good. And I'll keep building up the tech and all that. But for now, I'm doing my best. And that means there may not be video for this episode. And if there is, it's definitely only part of the episode. And that's okay because sometimes, like you said, and like the book said, your best is 30% battery.
Yeah. In this case, literally with the video.
Exactly. But I appreciated what you had to say about the 4 agreements. And I wonder, having read the 4 agreements and knowing that you've read a lot of other self-help books, if you have any kind of takeaways or advice to share in general for the listener at home.
Yeah. I think in general, I like that this like also orders it in a way that's like I always love like a BuzzFeed type of like 5 things to make it whatever, but it's not really like that, but it does distill it very like simply, but take what resonates with you, create a system to implement these things. And take it like one thing at a time. It's very easy to forget. I used to write down quotes all over my like apartment or like post-its and stuff, and it is helpful to remind yourself of like these things. But if you also make it a daily practice, whether it is to meditate, whether it's to write affirmations, whether I used to have reminders on my phone like of things that I like I read the book oh my God, now I can't remember what it's called. Emotional Agility. Highly recommend. And I had this quote pop up on my phone every day for like 2 years, which was discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life. And it was just like a really helpful daily reminder. So whatever it is that you need to do to remind yourself because it's easy to like forget about a book. And then as a situation comes up, you'll forget about how to handle it. But if you have a system in place where you're already incorporating this, it also helps build up your defenses against taking things personally and, whatever, feeling like you're not productive and so on. So that would be my advice, or at least that's how I have what's worked for me. And try different things and see what works for you. And if, at the end of the day, like even in therapy, like they don't know everything about you. Whatever resonates, take it. And whatever doesn't, take it with a grain of salt. But if it does create a strong reaction in you, even if you're like, I hate this, investigate that too, because that doesn't mean it's bad for you. It just investigate why it's creating a strong reaction.
Self-Help Book Club.